Assalamualaikum and good morning, everybody.
Waalaikumsalam. Good morning, Dr. Azida.
Morning, Dr. Radin. Okay, we just wait another 1 minute, yeah?
Okay.
Alright, okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning, everybody. On behalf of CDAE, I would like to thank everybody who can join this morning on the topic scholarly teaching from classroom to teaching innovation and publication. All right, so I'll conduct this webinar around 2 hours, yeah, around 2 hours. Then we will have a question and answers and so on, all right? So I see a few colleagues from School of Educational Studies. So they are also some of the experts, yeah, in this area, because I'm going to touch on action research. Action research, how do you do research in your own classroom, and then how you are going to do innovation in your classroom, and it can lead into publication. All right, so let me start with some introduction. All right. So when we talk about scholarly teaching, we are not just talking about teaching in our own classroom, but we are going to look at how we are going to do innovations, how we are going to improve our teaching and learning, and how we can actually publish, okay, what we have been teaching in our own classroom, okay, into innovate. Either we are going to look at various national and international competition, all right, about teaching, regarding to teaching, as well as how we are going to publish what we do in our classroom. Okay. All right, so let me just start with my scenario within 30 years of teaching in USM. All right, so I've been teaching ICT in big classes. All right, so since I was in USM in 2008. All right, so I've been teaching a big class. All right, a class which is a PGT 436E, whereby usually we have around 100 to 200 students per semester. So this course, we offer this course in PPIP every semester, yeah, every semester. And because it is offered to everybody, every students in for undergraduate courses, all right, in programs in PPIP. So it is a big class every semester. Maybe some this semester we have around quite less, around 86. Okay, this semester we have 66 students. Sorry, 86 students. And then usually next semester we are going to have more than 100 students, sometimes up to 200. All right. And then when I have to teach ICT, Information Communication Technology, for pre-service teachers, and I have to teach so many students per class, so it is quite a problem. All right, it is quite a problem whereby in the early years, 2008, 2009, 2010, I have to divide them into tutorials, okay, tutorials whereby our computer lab, okay, can only accommodate around 30 students per session. All right, so what if I got 100? So I have like three, or if I have three sessions, maybe, or four sessions, because although the lab has 30 computers at that time, but then some of the computers are not working and so on. So usually if I have 100 students, we have four sessions for tutorials. Then when the students are up to 200, then I will have 8 sessions of tutorials, which is at that time I was teaching this particular course alone. All right, alone. So it was like a very heavy load for myself. Okay, so my first intervention, yeah, when I teach this class was I did quizzes via SMS. Okay, remember at that time, 2010, we don't have WhatsApp. We only have the not the smartphone, only the handphones with SMS features only. So I have to do some intervention using SMS. At that time, I got a grant. Okay, I got a grant whereby I can buy servers. All right, servers. I bought 4 servers. Whereby we provided different server for different mobile provider. So one for Maxis, one for DG, one for Celcom, and so on. At that time, I've got RU, so it was easy to buy. I have money to buy the servers, all right. But I did the quiz in my own class, and then the students were really happy at that time because they can do the quizzes whenever they are. All right, meaning that the quiz will open, for example, today at 8 a.m., and then it can continue for a few days, and then they can do it. They could do it anywhere. All right, but remember that was in 2009, 2010, whereby the smartphones are not there yet. All right. Okay, so and then that was my first intervention, but I got research grant at the moment. And then I have my second intervention was bring your own device in lecture hall. After that, when the mobile, the internet can be used in mobile phones, we have smartphones and so on. All right, we students, most of the students, they have laptops. So I was thinking, why do it is, it is very heavy load for me to teach so many tutorials per semester. So I asked the student to bring their own devices in the lecture hall. So no more hourly tutorials, but whatever activities had been conducted in the lecture hall, meaning that in the either the DKW, we have DKF, okay, or E, and then also in our auditorium in PPIP. And then, all right, after that, and it becomes easier for me because I don't have to arrange for tutorials anymore. All the activities were conducted in a lecture hall, and the students during my class, they brought their computers. Sometimes they just use their handphones and so on. And then my third intervention, I did the blended learning. Okay, before we CDAE introduced the guidelines for blended learning, I tried it in my class first. I tried to use Zoom before COVID-19. It was 2017. I remembered 2016 or 17. I started with blended learning whereby I did Zoom classes. Okay, so my students, sometimes they don't have to come to USM, they just can learn from their own home using Zoom. All right, so that's why during COVID-19 I was not shocked like others, because I had done this before using Zoom. All right, specifically Zoom, yeah, at that time. And then now I still do some intervention, and I just do it whenever I feel that I have problems in my class and I need to solve the problems. All right. So this is what I did within the 30 years of my teaching in USM. All right. Okay. So, as I mentioned earlier, all right, when I did this, the first intervention, I got the RUI. Okay, so it was easy for me to buy the service for servers and so on. And then what I did in my class were based on my research. Okay, however, we have some problems whereby currently there are less research grants offered to us, and it is very hard for us to get research grant. So sometimes it is like, you try to apply so many grants, but you did not able to get one. All right, you do, and until now maybe you don't have any research grant. So usually what people ask me, you don't have a grant, so how do you do research, how do you publish? So I think for me myself, okay, I still do research in terms of uh, it can be done inside my class. All right. So although I don't have research grant, for example, all right, so I still can do research based on my classroom, my own classroom. Okay. So these are my courses for this semesters. Yeah. So when you see my courses, you can see I teach many classes, all right, and then I can do many research actually based on my class. Although I'm teaching in School of Educational Studies, so maybe people can, just tell me, Dr. Azida boleh lah, okay, because you are teaching education, it is your, you are doing education, so you can do research in your class because it is your forte, meaning that you are doing something that you in your research area. So I can answer that, this research can be done for all areas. Either you are in the engineering campus, you are doing something about engineering, your expertise in health, your expertise in sciences, all right, you still can do research in your own classroom. Especially if now we have the teaching track, right? We have the teaching track whereby you can go from your DS51 to DS54 through teaching track, which is we had done that last year, starting last year. All right. So this type of research can actually help you to conduct research, teaching based research, what we can say as scholarly teaching. All right. If you have any question, please do write in the chat box, all right? And then, or if you would like to unmute, please do so. I have no problem with that, all right? Okay, so what did I do? What did I do? For your information, from this innovation, I publish, all right? I do publication. I publish in Scopus and so on. I also do innovation, and this all innovation actually I went to competition, right? So I went to competition until towards international competition, and I did won. All right, meaning that whatever you do, you can start from your own classroom. So what did I do in my own classroom? All right. So this is the fact of our class, okay, our own classroom. All right. So first thing that you need to know that is we can start our research based on our problem in the classroom. Okay. Every lecturer, every educator, every teachers, they do have problem in our classroom. It is not only about the content, okay, the content, but maybe the problems with our students. All right, the problem with our student. For example, during this pandemic, okay, now we are still having online classes. All right, we have 50% of our student in campus now, and then we have another 50% at home. So we are still teaching online. And what happened during teaching online, sometimes you are feeling like you are teaching to yourself, you are speaking to yourself. Okay, you are just speaking to yourself, and then when you ask question, nobody answer you, just quiet behind the webex. All right, and then yeah, it is like speaking to ourselves. All right, and then some of my problem is when I ask them to on their webcam, what happened? Only a few will open their webcam. Some of them said, okay, sorry, doctor, my internet is not good, so I cannot open my webcam. Or they just keep quiet, right? Sometimes they just keep quiet and then just ignore you when you are teaching online, all right? So it is the same actually if you are teaching face to face. All right, if you are teaching face to face in a big class, all right, in the lecture hall, for example, a big lecture hall where you have had more than hundreds, more than 200 students, do you ever feel lonely? Or do you ever feel that you are talking to just the students in front of the lecture hall? Okay, the people, the students who are sitting in front of the lecture hall usually are the same students. All right, and then the students who are sitting behind the lecture hall, always the students who were sitting in at the back of the lecture halls. That is a problem. All right, how do you solve that problem? All right, and then we have so many other issues during our teaching online. For example, our own issues. All right, our technical, how to do breakout rooms. Okay, we have to do breakout rooms. For example, if we have many students, so that they can discuss, how to make them discuss. Okay, when, for example, when I do breakout rooms during my teaching, what happened was, okay, I browse through all the groups, and I see that, the people who are always talking, speaking in my class, they are the only people who are discussing in the groups, one or two students. The quiet students are always quiet. All right. I think these problems occurs to everybody. All right, occurs to everybody. So yes, this is a problem, and then we need to solve that. We need to find solution on how to make our student engage, okay, participate, motivated, and so on. All right, that is something to be researched on, and something that we need to do innovation in our classroom, and then we need to solve the problem. Okay, and then fact of our class number 2 is, all right, whatever we use in our class can be used as research materials or as our research focus. Okay, whatever we do, whatever we use, okay, even the WebEx itself can be used as research materials. Okay, and then the engagement in the WebEx can be our research focus. Okay, why are our students so quiet during WebEx class? Maybe their internet. So the internet, okay, can be our research focus. How to enhance internet connection, how to make our classroom more engaging during online teaching and learning. So that can be our research focus. So whatever we do in our class, we have it, and we can use whatever we do in our class as our research materials or focus. All right. So that's why I mentioned earlier that although your expert is in civil engineering, for example, you can do research in your own classroom. Maybe it is based on civil engineering, but how to teach your the course, for example, a specific course. Maybe it is a theory, maybe it is a practical course. So you can use it not about the exact civil engineering, but it is about how to teach effectively in your area of expertise. All right. But, okay, how do we start? This is the problem. Okay, this is the problem. People in education say, okay, it is easy. Okay, because maybe you are in education. Some of our educationists, they say that, okay, you can start with this one. But, people who are not in education will say, oh, this is a problem. How do I start? Do research in my own class. Okay, so our class is a handy research place, all right? Very handy, all right, compared to other places, okay? Why? First, you have yourself, okay? You are a researcher, everybody, okay? Everybody, every lecturers, every educators, we are researchers. So we have ourselves. We know how to do research, all right? Maybe not in, specifically on teaching and learning, but we have done research, right, in our area. Okay, so you have yourself, you have this expertise, and then you have your students. Your students are there. For me, I have many students for my undergraduate class. All right, I also have uh, students for my postgraduate class. And then I have my class plan. All right. What happened to me yesterday was, I should have class at 5 p.m. Yesterday was a holiday, right? So I have actually reminded myself, okay, I have to mention it, let my students know. I have 22 students there for my Doctor of Education class, and then uh, around, I have only 5 locals in my class. Other than that, they are from mainland China. So I forgotten to tell them that, we have a holiday yesterday, so we don't have class, but I did prepare something in e-learn. All right, and they waited for me in synchronous class. So that is a problem. How should I solve this problem, whereby I forgotten that, we have so many Mondays this semester with break. So, I should have prepared in advance. Okay, I actually have prepared in advance that I have to do asynchronous class during break. Okay, during breaks, and then I have to tell the students. I might have automated information sent to my students and so on. That can be considered as innovation in your class, so that, until around 5:30, I just realized, oh, I've forgotten. I have the WebEx link ready, but I didn't tell the student that, there will be a asynchronous class, not synchronous class. So I should have made an announcement before, so that my students would not been waiting lah. Yesterday they have been waiting for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. All right. So I had to do innovation, okay, earlier on, so that, I can avoid that particular problem. All right. So my class plan is one of the handy things that I can use, okay, for my research. What plan that I do, that I did in my e-learn, so that my students know that yesterday was a holiday. All right. So that was really important. Okay, you have your own class plan. Please don't tell me you don't plan your class. All right, because you need to plan beforehand. And in school, for example, if you remember during your school time, okay, your teacher, they have this big instructional book, so that they can plan what to do before they go to class, what activity they are going to do in the classroom, and so on. All right, you should have your own class plan. And then you should have your materials in hand. All right. So meaning that whatever you are going to teach your students, you have it with you. All right. Before you go to class. Okay. And then you are going to use that materials for your own class. Okay, and the most important thing is you have the power. It is your class, so of course you have the power. Okay, so you can do anything in your class so that your students will be actively learning. Okay, they can learn, they can do some activities, they can engage, and you have the power to make them engage. All right, so that is why I'm saying that our class is a handy research place. You can use yourself, you can use your students, you can use your class plan, you can use your materials, and you can use your power to make it going. You can use your power to do the research in your own classroom. All right, so let me share with you all. This was my class, okay, last 2 weeks. All right, so it was 16 May 2022. Okay, that was the class that I forgotten yesterday. All right, 5 p.m. All right, so this okay, so this is the scenario for this class. All right, this is a class for Doctor of Education. Doctor of Education is similar to PhD, a PhD whereby when they graduated, they will get a doctorate. All right, so but this is a doctorate by coursework. So usually, yeah, my problem is, okay, usually this class, in the normal semester, what I call normal semester, I have only 5 to 6 students only in my class. But recently, okay, and this semester, okay, like I mentioned just now, suddenly I had 22 students from different majors. Okay, from different majors. For an EDD class, this is quite a big class because usually we have 5 to 6 students only. So it is easy for us to do discussion, all right, and I can make the students be very active in my class. Okay, they can brainstorm, they can do so many things, all right. And as this is an EDD class, I need to make sure that my student are very active. They will be able to perform like a doctorate student, not like undergrad student. They don't just sit behind the computer and then keep quiet. But with 22 students, all right, this semester, it is a problem, a big problem for me. All right. So this is the largest group that I have seen 10 years ago for EDD class. All right. And then we have different major. We have TESOL, we have science students, we have educational technology, and we have curriculum study student. All right. So this course is a technology class. All right. So instructional technology, it is educational technology, ICT class. All right. But we open it to different major student. If it is all the students are from educational technology, it will be much more easier for me because when they do educational technology, their technology skills is quite good. All right, compared to students in TESOL, sciences, curriculum, their technology level is quite low. All right, so and then that is a problem too because I need people to be quite good in their technology skills so that they can, research the materials. They can do whatever technology based activity as fast. For example, I say I need you to do my maths in 10 minutes. All right, you need to use whatever my max apps, okay, within 10 minutes, and you need to read and whatever. So I need them to be very fast. However, all right, with these different major, okay, the usually 10 minutes activity can drag into 20 to half an hour. All right, so and then I have 17 students from China and only 5 locals. All right, so my online learning is lack of interaction. All right, and some of the Chinese student, their level of English is very low. So I have to, when they speak, I have to really listen to what they try to tell me, and then I have to actually slow down my speaking. All right, you know that I speak very fast sometimes, but because I have so many students from China, I have to be very slow in terms of giving instruction and so on, so that they will be able to understand. And with 70 students from China, I do have problems with technology because student in China, they are not able to access various applications from, for example, if I would like to use Quizlet, all right, they have to use VPN. Some of them cannot go through the VPN because because of the apps is not well known. They don't know. Other lecturers have not been using that particular apps. Okay, only Dr. Azidah use that particular apps, so they would not able to access the apps. All right. So these are my problem in this class. So I treat the problem. Okay. I need to look at the problem. I need to list out the problem so that in my class, I have to do some intervention so that all the students will be able to learn. They are going to be engaged in my class, and then they will be able to interact in my class. So this is the issues that I face in my class PLG 7 to 6. All right. So while you are listening to me, I would like you to think of, okay, now you are teaching certain class. All right. You are teaching certain class. All right. What are the problems? All right. What are the problems occurs in your own classroom? Maybe you have 20 students, or maybe you have less students. Maybe you have only 2 students. That is a problem as well, because sometimes in our EDD class like this, okay, we don't actually, if we have still, we have 1 student or 2 students, the class is still on. So how do you teach? How do you do teaching and learning for 2 students? That is a problem as well. Okay. So I need to solve that problem, and you need to solve that problem. Okay. Let me just ask one question, and let me please ask, sorry, please answer my question. So enter in the chat box. Okay. uh, Tell me one problem that you have in your own classroom. 1 minute. Think of one problem that you have in your own classroom. Okay, please type in the chat box, or you can unmute. We have around 60 participants today. Everybody is still in holiday, or nobody can hear me. Internet instability from student side. All right, Dr. Husnaida. Anybody else? Language barriers. Okay. Not all the students has the same learning capability to catch up. Okay, Dr. Gad. All right. Dr. Nazri, students perform well in coursework and assignments, but badly in written assignment. I agree with you all, with you, Dr. Nazri. Okay, we can find that, okay, you can compare before COVID and after COVID, when we did we changed from the exam work to coursework, we can see that, the performance of our student increase. Okay. And then big classes around 280 plus students. All right. Dr. Zuraini. Dr. Anusha, big class. All right. Only same students' responses. All right. Lack of willingness to participate. All right. Student engagement and interaction. Dr. Sylvia. Not sure if students are actually paying attention. Yes. Okay. All right. Like just now when I asked you all the question, can you tell me the problem? in your class, okay, waiting for you all to answer. It was like a few seconds, only 15 seconds, but I feel like it is like 1 hour already waiting for responses. Was I speaking by myself just now? Okay, so that is lack of interaction. All right, and then that is what we feel during our class. Lack of responses from students, from students, Dr. Suhana, Dr. Narihan, lack of interactions. Students are not motivated to participate. Student engagement, and then connection is slow and need to wait responses from students. Okay, slow interaction. Yes, and then Dr. Suhairi, I see my programming class has no interest in learning programming and depend on certain students to get the assignment done. All right, yeah, I think so. Some of the students, they just do the assignment, whatever assignment, for the sake of it is an assignment, not because of it is, they are going to learn from that. All right, we are giving assignments so that we would like to see whether our learning outcomes has been achieved. All right, and how the students learn. But all right, uh, we consider, usually, we consider effort in the assignment. All right, and then Dr. Muhammad Zikri, poor passion medical student interaction due to COVID. Yeah, I understand that, because sometimes for medical students, you need to be face to face, but maybe because it is COVID, they are not able to interact with the patient, right, or during your clinical and so on. So I think that is a problem. Okay, so I'm not going to answer how you solve that problem, but you need to think of do how do we plan to solve this problem, all right? Especially for those who said that lack of responses from students, all right? Although in this class, I have only 22 students, all right? I can only remember a few names, all right? For me as a teacher, it is very important for me to remember who are in my class, and especially their names, all right? Usually, if I have 22 students, I can remember each of their names. But with this class, until now, this is our ninth week, okay? Going to be. So, the names that I can remember is Aini, Marina, okay, Sherlock. Sherlock is from China. Okay, Sherlock. I don't know his Chinese name, but he said his name is Sherlock, so he's quite active, so I remember him. And then Bill, okay, his English is very good. He is a Chinese as well. And then Carly and Kevin. That is the only name that I can remember. And Emilia, also a Chinese. Okay, that's are the only names that I can remember in my class. That is a problem as well, yeah, to remember my own who are in my class. All right, because it is lack of interaction. Only the same students are speaking during the classroom. Okay, this was last week. Okay, this is an undergraduate class. All right, this class PGT 436E is a class where I teach the second half of the semester. So last week was my first class with the students. All right, this is the class with many students. Okay, this semester it is 86 only. Okay, so it is not as much as before. Okay, so you can see that, right? Because I did not know the students. Okay, last week the topic was plagiarism and copyright for educators. So I did not know the student at all before this. Maybe I did some tutorial when they first in their first semester. A few of them, for 3 or 4 students, but other than that, I didn't know them. All right, so this is what I did in my first class. Okay, when I went to the class, okay, I just give them a quiz. Okay, immediately. All right. Immediately after I didn't even introduce myself. I just said, okay, today, 9:05, I'm going to do a quick, not a quick because it is 25 minutes. All right. 25-minute quiz on plagiarism and copyright for educators. All right. So this was taken during the quiz. All right. So these are the students. I required them to on their WebEx, but only half of the students on their WebEx. And then this is a timer for the quiz that I show during my WebEx class, all right, during the quiz time, so that they can refer how many minutes are there for them to, were there for them to do the quiz, all right? All right. So the quiz, I did the quiz in Google Form. All right. Why? Because I can do it in eLearn, but I purposely did it in Google Form. All right. These are the question. All right. They need to put their emails, their name, and then my first question was, have you ever plagiarized before? Yes, no, or maybe. All right. So I haven't introduced to them anything about plagiarism or copyright for educators yet, but I would like to know whether they were aware of what is plagiarism. Okay, they are undergraduate students. So I would like to know their awareness and their whatever they know about plagiarism. Okay, so I have 86 responses here. All right, and then these are the responses that I got from my students. All right, so you can see here, my first question, have you ever plagiarized? One student said maybe, no, yes, maybe, yes, no. Okay, some of them are very confident that they never do plagiarize before. All right, so let me show you the responses. All right. What I would like to show you is this particular what they got. All right. The points that the students the students got. All right. So meaning that out of 86 responses, I can see that the median is 29 out of 50 points. All right. So average, okay, is 30.3 out of 50, and then range is around 90 to 48 points, meaning that we have students who are who got 19 marks. All right. So this data is really important for me to do any intervention in my class. All right. So I know that, only one get 48 out of 50 from my questions. Okay, and then it is I have frequently missed questions. All right, and then I have all the whatever particulars that I need. All right, from this particular class. So from here, I will know that the students are not well versed. All right, we have 19, 4 students who has 19, who have 19, 120, and then 122, and so on. So this data can help me to do some intervention in my class. I know that although they have been, this class is for third year and fourth year students, okay, combination of third years and fourth year students. So they are actually not aware whether they have done, okay, they have plagiarized before. All right, meaning that if they can only have get 19 out of 50, meaning that their awareness of plagiarism is actually very minimal. All right, I have only one student who are quite uh, her knowledge on plagiarism and copyright are quite good. I have 45, and so on. So from here, I can do something to my students. I can think of, okay, what should I do so that my students are aware about plagiarism? Okay, it is not like I go to the class last week and I immediately teach them how to do what is plagiarism and what is copyright for educators. I need to actually know what they know about that, so that then I can also refer to here, okay, frequently missed questions. You hand in an essay for one subject that you have already submitted for another. Is this a plagiarism? Okay, so correct responses, only 32 out of 86 students get correct for this question, meaning that they don't know that if they submit an essay that they have submitted for other course, it is considered as plagiarized. Okay, they don't know that. They are in their third year. So maybe I can use this particular information for my own class, all right? Or I can do it for CDAE. Okay, for CDAE, because I'm here in CDAE, so I know that most of the students, okay, out of here, I can assume, yeah, I can assume that the students in USM, maybe half of the student in USM, they are not aware of um, you cannot submit whatever you have submitted for other courses for another courses. All right. So maybe we can do some intervention in USM, not only in my class, but in USM, meaning that I might conduct a course, for example. All right. Or I might do a larger survey for USM students, and then I could do some modules, whatever, and so on, so that I can help students in USM. From there, I can do research. Okay, this is what we can do from the data that we have collected. So that's why I also use Google Form, because it is easy for me to track. Okay, immediately I got this how many correct responses. Okay, for example, which are the following and so on. Only 26 out of this one, 16. Okay, the honor of whatever. So you can see 16 of out of 86. Okay, get correct. Only 16. So this particular question is not well known to our students. Okay, so we can start there in our own classroom, whereby it can help us to do some intervention. Okay, so this is how I see my problem, the problem in my class, and how do I get the data, and then how I can use the data for the intervention in my class. So after I got the data just now, all right, for example, the Google Form data, the data from my PLG 722 class, PLG 726 class, and so on. So after I found the problem in my class, I can do the action research. Have you heard of action research? For those who are not in education, I know people who from education, they know what is action research. All right, for those who are not from school of education, have you heard of action research? Tak ada orang nak jawab? Yes, okay, Dr. Suhairi. Dr. Huzaimi said no. All right. Okay, so Dr. Suhairi, I assume that you have done some action research in your class. All right. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Dr. Suhairi. All right. So Dr. Nazri, yes as well. Dr. Zikri, nay. All right. Dr. Radin, no. Okay. So Dr. Suhairi, you have done the action research. All right. So you can help me get, if some people need some help during this webinar, I can also ask you, because you are from the computer science background. So maybe you can help me in terms of how do you do action research in um, computer science classroom, maybe. Okay, later on. Okay, oh, sorry, you are from engineering. Okay, all right. So, and then Dr. Husnaida led in terms of publishing. Okay, later on, I'll highlight about the publishing first. In action research, okay, first we do First we do we teach. First we teach. All right. First we teach. We teach. We find problems. We look for problems, or some problem occurs during we teach, and then we research. Meaning that from what we are teaching, from the problems occurs in our classroom, we do research. Okay, we research on, for example, just now I research on my students, okay, their knowledge on plagiarism. All right, I need to research on that. And then from there, what innovation that I can do, all right, based on my findings. And then from there, I can publish. Publish is the last thing. All right. You need to do the innovation first, and then you can publish. All right. So what is action research? Okay. For those who have never done or haven't been introduced to action research, okay, basically action research will help you to have a better understanding of what happened in our own classroom. For example, just now, many of you mentioned about lack of interaction, lack of motivation, and you feel like, your students are too quiet in your class, and then maybe because they have some internet issues. Okay, a few of you mentioned about internet issues, whereby maybe yeah, I think my students also always mentioning about their internet is not good. Okay, their data is not enough. All right, so okay, when your students tell you, okay, doctor, my internet is so bad. Okay, I can't even hear what you are saying. Your voice are breaking. All right. So what do you do when your students tell you this problem? What do you do? Or you just, okay, you just say that, okay, saya faham, I understand. Okay, or you just, okay, you just nodding and say, you agree with them, itulah, okay, memanglah internet ni rumah saya pun teruk juga. Okay, that is your answer. But how do you solve that problem? That is what we want to do. All right, so that the students will not face the same problem again. All right. So for me, if my students mention like that, okay, I give two alternative. I would give two alternative. One, for those who are not able to do synchronous, really active synchronous, they should be active asynchronously. For those who are able to be active synchronously, then they should be active. So I divided my class into two groups, meaning that one should be active asynchronously, one group should be active synchronously. All right, that is what I did in my class, so that I can see how the intervention can help the student to be much more active in the classroom. Okay, so I don't force them to, okay, because you have a lack of internet, so try to buy new data, or you need to go here and there. All right, for me, my solution is, okay, I compare how to, I try to give solution whereby, okay, one group active like this and one group active like this, but then I can compare. All right, this is what we can do in our class. Do some intervention whereby it won't burden the students. All right, and also it won't actually disturb the students who are good in with good internet. Okay, so you can be much more flexible in your class. Okay, this is what I do in your class. So you need to think of one solution. In action research, you need to think of solution to your problem. All right. So we are not only answering a research question, like in our normal research, what we do research, not action research, the research that we do in our area, we try to answer the research questions. But in action research, we try to solve the problem as well. Okay, and then so that we as the teacher, first, we as the teacher would understand our own to increase our own understanding on what happened in our own classroom. Okay, for example, there are some lecturers just now, Dr. Anusha, saying that, she are teaching in a big class. All right. So this is what I faced, okay, in 2010, 2011, okay, with big classes, and I have to teach ICT, and we have less computer students. So I have to do different types of intervention. And I don't say that it is always successful. No, okay? It won't be, always successful. I remember when I first did the quiz via SMS, what happened was, although I have servers, 4 servers allocated to the students, but I was giving the quiz during the class time. And what happened? The quiz when the students, when they submit a code via the SMS, all my servers hang, and then it was a really disaster whereby nobody can do the quiz and so on. So that was the problem at that time. So, but after that, I have to do some more intervention until I find the solution. All right. So we try to solve the problem, and it won't actually solve in one class or 2 classes, but we can actually try bit by bit. All right. All right. So what is an action research? Okay. So whatever you do in class, you turn it into research. Okay. First, okay, like I mentioned earlier, you need to identify your problem. What are your problems? What is your problem? Okay, you can start small. Some of you might think of, okay, my students are really unmotivated. Okay, they are not motivated to come into my class. All right, they are really quiet in my class. So the first thing is your problem is how to engage my students in learning, for example. All right, so you need to have a plan. Okay, for my next week class, for example, all right, so I am going to plan something different. Something different. Okay, so how should I engage my student differently next week? So plan, write it down. Okay, what I did after my class last week in my PGT 436E that I gave to my 86 students. Okay, I got some feedbacks from the students. They said, Doctor, 2 hours, my class were 2 hours. They said, Doctor, the 2 hours class was really good in terms of I found that I didn't realize the 2 hour class is already finished. Meaning that, it is like I just realized it is already 11 a.m. and then the class is almost finished. We were really active in terms of discussing. We were really active in terms of getting to know, and we understand what is now plagiarism. Okay, so after I gave them the quiz, all right, the quiz, then what I did was I made breakout rooms, 10 breakout rooms. Okay, and I would like them to discuss the most hardest, 5 hardest questions from the quiz, and discuss in the group, okay, what are the answers for that particular question and why. Then they have to present to me, all right, after I think 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, they have 20 minutes to discuss, and then after 20 minutes, each of the groups will present their findings. So I found that they have the similar problem, almost the similar problem. That's why the class becomes very active into hours, and then at the end the students learn, and I found that everybody were engaged because they consider, okay, I don't know about this thing, this question, and I need to know the answer. All right. And then I got my data, all right, the one that I would like to know. And then I also have the recordings of their presentation whereby they present to me what are their most difficulties in answering the question. And then maybe at the end of the semester I can do another test, or I can use the same test, the same quiz again, and see whether, okay, they actually learn from this particular activity, the same quiz. So that particular activity from my class can be a quasi experiment whereby it can be um uh, a test, and then in a few weeks time I can also do a post test, so I can see their achievement is in plagiarism. Okay, so that maybe is my plan. Actually, I haven't got any plan yet. I just used that particular plan for my last week class. But maybe in few weeks time, I can give another that particular the same quiz again, so that I can see whether the students learn from the activity, and then I can see their achievement. Okay, so that can be my plan. All right. So when you have planned whatever you would like to do next week, so you are going to take action. All right. So this week you are going to plan. Next week is your class. So write down what is your plan, and then next week class you are going to do what you plan. Okay, don't plan to do lecture lah. Okay, don't plan to do lecture. Plan to do something different from what you always do. All right. And then even for example, next week you are going to do a breakout session in WebEx. Okay, maybe this is your first time doing breakout session in your WebEx class. So the most thing the least thing that you can do is after the breakout session, you can open a Padlet, for example, or you can actually open a Jamboard and then ask your students to give feedback. All right, the feedback itself can actually help you to collect data on your student. For example, the question for the feedback, please give me some feedback on our breakout session just now. Okay, who were the most active people in that particular in your group? Okay, why do you think he or she is very active? Okay, so from that particular question you will get data. All right, you will get data and you can use it, all right, for your research. All right, and then during the action you can also observe. Okay, that's why when I do breakout session, for example, I go to all the groups that I have. Okay, I would like to observe. Okay, I would like to observe what happened in the group. Okay, and I remember last week when I did the breakout session, one of the students asked question. Okay, dia cakap, she said, okay, I don't understand why this question, the answer is like this. Okay, I don't really understand. The question was like that. Okay, during my when I went to that particular group, and one student said, okay, macam ni, like this. Okay, this is. Then she tried to give a scenario to that particular student. Why that particular questions with that particular answer. All right. And that's when I observe. Okay, and I found that whatever the answers from that particular students really good. All right, and then I jot down her name. All right, and then I said, okay, this student is really good, meaning that she know what she is doing. And then I need to actually highlight this to the class, okay, at the end of the class later. All right, so meaning that the observation, when you do observation, you need to take notes, because the notes are important for you to reflect on the activity that you had done. All right, in action research, you can do it quantitatively, meaning that you can collect the data like I did just now using Google Form, for example. You can see the mean and so on. All right, the result, the quantitative result, as well as when you observe, when you reflect, it can also be qualitative, meaning that from your observation, you jot down what you observe, what is the main point, what you can do during the observation, what did your students do. Okay, jot down. All right, and the good thing about online learning is about using WebEx is you can record, meaning that if you are not able to jot down immediately, you can always go to the recording session later on. But remember, when you do breakout sessions, you are not able to record. All right, and then you can reflect. Okay, like what I did. All right, when I observed my class last week, then I reflect. Okay, I found that some of the students are not, they don't really understand what is plagiarism. And then one other topic that I covered last week was copyright for educators. All right, and then what is copyright for educators? And some of the students, they have different understanding. Okay, because they are going to be teachers, so there are some copyright materials that they can use in their own class, only in their own class, and they did not know that. All right, only for teaching only, not beyond their own class. So that is my reflection. So I need to highlight, they need to do some research. So for this week, what I'm going to do this Wednesday, I'm going to ask them to research on how many uh, how many years of a song, for example, can be used freely for educators without being they are going to be summoned on using the materials without permission and so on. So that is what I'm going to do this week. All right, from there, I'm going to record the class, and I can see, I can think of how do I do in that is actually innovation. And then from that particular innovation, how do I publish this? All right. So action research can help you in terms of, from this particular activity, plan, action, observe, and reflect. You are going to do innovation. Actually, this part is the innovation. And then after this, you can publish whatever you found from your observation and your action. All right, let's watch this video.
Teaching is a craft. It's both an art and a science, which is why great teachers always experiment and make tons of mistakes. But how do you know what's actually working? Well, one option is action research. Here you can identify a question, test out a strategy, gather data, and determine if it works. The end result is something dynamic, innovative, and tied directly to your classroom. Action research dissolves the barrier between the participants and the researchers. In other words, the teacher actively participates in the situation while also conducting the research. There are many action research frameworks, but they generally follow a similar process. You start out in phase 1, planning for research. Here you begin with inquiry, where you define a specific research question. It needs to be something that can actually be tested. Next, you conduct a literature review to gain a deeper understanding of the topic. Finally, you move into the design process, where you determine your data methods, consider ethical issues, get the required permissions, create deadlines, and set up the systems. Next, you move into the action phase. This is where you engage in multiple cycles of experimentation and data collection. Your data collection might include qualitative data like observations, artifacts, and interviews, or quantitative data like rubric scores, surveys, or achievement data. Afterward, you move to analysis. You'll often start by organizing the data with charts or graphs and looking for specific trends. You might also discuss it with peers, rewrite in a journal, or create a cluster map before eventually writing out your results. Finally, you have your conclusion. This is where you share your research with the world and reflect on your own practice. This will ultimately lead to newer questions, and the cycle will continue as you refine your craft as a better, more creative teacher.
Okay. All right. So as you can see in the video just now, all right, you can see that, from action research, you can publish, you can do the research, all right? Like for example, achievement, you can see, and it consists of quantitative and qualitative data. Okay, you can you can do observation in your own classroom, you can take notes, you can do journals, whatever you can do in your own classroom. So for action research, it is learning by doing, meaning that it is a purposeful classroom research. It is in your own classroom. And I would like to repeat again, if you are into teaching track, this is one of beneficial research that you can do, so that you know what happened in your own classroom. For example, just now, the problem with medical students during COVID-19. Okay, how do you solve that particular problem whereby they have lack of interaction between the students and the patient because of COVID-19, maybe restricted to go to the clinic or hospital and so on. So how do you solve that problem? Okay, so you need to do some intervention there so that our students will be able to they will be able to learn, okay, via our intervention. All right. And usually action research take place in natural setting, in our own classroom. You don't have to do big intervention. Okay. Very like, maybe because you are doing you're teaching in your house at the moment currently, for example, and then because you would like to do some intervention, you say, okay, how about we try to go outside. Okay, you go outside your house, I go outside my house, and then we see whether the internet is good and whatever. All right, we don't need to do like that. Okay, don't do the intervention drastically, but as I mentioned just now, plan. Maybe small planning. For example, if your class is 2 hours, maybe only half an hour intervention in your class will be enough. That should be good already, meaning that next week class, I'm going to do some intervention for only half an hour or only 20 minutes. Okay, I'm going to try this activity. All right, and see how the students react to that particular activity. Will they be more active compared to if I do my usual task? Okay, for example, if you would like to try use Google Form next week, your class 9 a.m. So just go in class. Okay, I have this question. All right, you haven't learned about this particular topic, but I would like you to answer this question based on your own experience in daily life. Okay, or you give if you are doing programming, you give some problem and then you ask the student to try to solve a simple problem. Everybody need to solve that particular problem, okay, and then in 20 minutes. Just that should be enough. Not that you have to do intervention in all 2 hours of your class. And then it involves action or strategies. You need to have strategies for your class. Plan what you are going to do, and then what action need to be taken. All right, so that you will have results to what you are doing. Maybe your what you are going to do 20 minutes next week, and another 20 minutes the week after, and then another 20 minutes the week after that. All right, and then that you will see the result. Maybe next week you are going to do something else, the other week different strategy, the other week different strategies. You are going to compare, and then you are going to ask the students for reflection, which are the strategies are the most helpful for them to learn. Okay, so it is something that you need to think of based on the problem in your classroom. Okay, and then it will allow, the action research will allow you, the teachers, the educators, and also the students to become researchers to utilize creative problem solving. Not only you, yeah, but also your students. For example, you give them some problems. They have to think about that, all right? And then they are going to let you know how they solve the problems, and then they become the researchers as well. All right, and then you learn from them, and then you do reflection based on their response to what you ask them to do. All right, so everybody in the class will become researchers, and then you need to document that. All right, remember, in action research, you need to document, you need to reflect, there are action need to be taken, and so on. All right, so, and then whatever you do, you are going to give structure to the process of inquiry and reflection. Remember, like I said just now, when, for example, next week you are going to do 20 minutes intervention, the week after 20 minutes, and then another 20 minutes the week after that. All right, that is actually a structure. Okay, although you when you plan, you don't see a really nice structure, but 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, that is a structure. From there, the process of inquiry and reflection happen. Okay, what happened during the first 20 minutes in your first week? And then what happened in the next 20 minutes? Jot that down. Okay, ask your students about reflection. Then there will be a structure. And then from that particular activity, you will be able to reflect back. Okay, what wrong did I did? Okay, or what good I have done during that process. Okay, how do I support my students' learning? Okay, that is important. And then you are going to be very reflective. Okay, so usually after you teach in your class, okay, do you reflect on what you have done today? All right, for today, you have class at 2 p.m. Okay, you have class at 2 p.m. Then at 4 p.m. you are going to finish your class. So after that class, what do you do? Do you reflect back on what you have done? Okay, or you just, okay, next week I'm going to have another class, I'm going to prepare my slide, and then you are going to do the same thing all over again. All right, being reflective in classroom teaching is very important, so that you can do the intervention. For example, I always feel very bad when I ask question and then nobody answer. All right, I feel like, okay, am I not engaging my students, or I did not realize that they can't hear me, or whether what I teach is something that very hard for them to understand, maybe my language or whatever. All right, I always have this feeling during my class. So after class I always think of, okay, what should I do to make them reflect, what should I do for them to give me some feedbacks on what I have been doing in my class. All right. So in action research, you need to be very reflective. All right. Then this process will lead to improvement. So meaning that if you reflect yourself on what you have been doing, then you are going to, okay, next week I'm not going to do this anymore. The 20 minutes is not effective. So I need to do something else. Okay. I need to strategize. Okay. So maybe what I can do is I'm going to give them something to read. Keep 1 hour before class. Then they have to read and then they have to present, for example. So this is the reflection based on what we have done before. And then from an action research process, a research paper can be written. Okay. Whether the research paper can be a journal paper or it can be a proposal. Okay, a proposal for a research grant. You can do that as well. For example, like my plagiarism example just now. Okay, from the result, I found that, okay, from my reflection, most of the students are not well versed on plagiarism. They have been in USM for more than 2 years. So actually, they should have known that they cannot send the assignment that they had submitted for other courses. But I can see that, most of them do not understand. So I'm going to apply for a research grant, maybe FRGS for next year. I'm going to do a fundamental research on plagiarism, a framework for identifying plagiarism in USM, what type of plagiarism, and so on. All right. So it can lead to a much more comprehensive research. Okay, you can write a proposal and then you can use the data as a preliminary data for you to apply for a grant, for example, or from that particular data, you can write a paper on students. For example, the title of the research paper will be Students' Perception on Plagiarism in USM. Something like that. All right. Okay. So you can do many things from the result of what you do in your classroom. Actually, currently I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to do with that particular plagiarism quiz that I had done? All right. But I'm looking at, for me, currently I'm thinking of doing a quasi experiment. I would like to see, in few weeks time, whether they understand what is plagiarism and so on. All right. So yeah, there are so many things that you can do from what you have done in your own classroom. All right. The fact is, action research can help you to be more effective. All right. I think that most of us, we like teaching. We like to teach. Okay. And then we like what everybody were typing in the chatbot just now. You were like most of us were concerned about student engagement. All right. So you do care to you really care about your students. You want to change, you want your students to be engaged, and then you see engagement as a problem. So how do you get your students to be engaged? And it helps you to be more effective, and then you are going to investigate your own teaching and your students learning. All right, you are going to investigate, am I an effective teacher? Okay, what do I do in my own class? Do I do innovation in my class, or every week I do the same thing? And how do I know my students learn? Okay, and why, if let's say during this a pandemic, during coursework, my students, they are getting higher marks compared to exams, compared to exam, most of them always get B, mostly, only a few A's, right? But during this pandemic COVID-19, most of the student, 90% get an A minus. All right. So why this happened? Okay. Were my teaching really good during pandemic, online teaching, that, my students all mostly understand what I'm teaching, or there's something else? Okay. Yeah. Is my do my exam question, for example, if you have problem, meaning that before pandemic, most of your students, they did not perform well in exams. Were my exam question too high level, or the way I write, or I design my exam question is not good, so my students did not understand, and so on. So these are the thinking that you need to do, okay? Because you can see now there are differences between the student achievement during pandemic and after pandemic, or before pandemic. All right. So action research is about your teaching and your learning. All right. It is about your teaching and your learning, whatever your expertise are, and whoever you are teaching. All right. So that's why action research can be done for everybody. Everybody can do action research. Okay. It is not only for lecturers who are teaching in School of Educational Studies. Okay. Everybody can do this. All right. So what will you do in action research? First, okay, I actually have gone through this. First, you have to identify your problems. Okay, just now you already said, okay, I cannot engage my students. My students are not engaged. All right. And actually, this not only happen during online teaching and learning. You must also reflect to your face-to-face teaching and learning. Okay. And although you can see that during this pandemic, you are not able to engage your students, all right? Maybe also when you were teaching face to face in the lecture hall, in the tutorial room, all right? You actually were not able to engage them as well. But you feel like you have engaged your students because you can see their face, you can see their reaction, you can see that they are sleepy. But in online teaching and learning, you are not able to see they sleeping behind their computer because they off their webcam. But in your face-to-face class, yes, you can see their face, you can see they are sleepy, and so on. So okay, maybe the problem that you encounter currently is similar to what happened before this, but you just didn't realize it. All right, so you can reflect back to what happened before pandemic, and then now you might be teaching hybrid. Half of your students are online, half your student might be here in the campus. So what are your problems? And then select a focus. Okay, maybe you found so many things, that so many problems occurs in your classroom, but select a focus. Focus only one. Do you want to engage your students, or do you want to make sure that your students will achieve higher marks for their exams? Okay, whether whatever, okay, you need to select a focus. Please don't be too ambitious, whereby you select various focus, one, two, or two, three focuses. All right, you need to select a focus first, so that if let's say later on you are well versed in action research, you can do more. All right, and then identify research questions. What research question do you want to ask in your action research? Okay, what do you want to do? Okay, how to engage, for example, how to engage my students in WebEx, for example. So when you try to answer that research questions, and then you do some innovation. Okay, during WebEx next week, I'm going to do this. First, I'm going to do this. Second, I'm going to do this. Third, I'm going to do this. All right. So then you collect the data. All right. And then analyze the data, and then report the result, and then you might want to take informed action. All right. The action can be taken here, also here. All right, it's up to you where you are going to take the action. Maybe you want to take pre-action first and then see what happened, and then you can take another action here. All right, so it is your class. You can do the intervention, jot down what you are going to do, jot down what are your strategies and so on, and then do the innovation. All right. The initial process in action research is mostly similar to other research. However, the data collection process is quite different. Okay. All right. So this is the data collection process. Okay. Data justified actions are valid and reliable. Okay. What does this mean? Meaning that, for example, just now when let me just share again. When I collected these data, all right, when I collected this data, I am sure that my data is valid because I asked the question that mostly the students should have known before. For example, about plagiarism. All right. We always assume that our students know, okay, that they cannot copy and paste, and then they cannot do it and put it in our assignment, and then they need to quote, and then quote the whatever they referred to, and then they need to put it in the references. Okay, but from here, okay, these are our assumption as educators. Always kan kita suruh, we ask our students to do assignment, and then what happened? Okay, you need to have references. Okay, whatever criteria, font size 12, Times New Roman size 12, and then refer to here and so on. But all right, that is our assumption that our students know about plagiarism. So that's why I think my data is valid. But because from their first year and second year of being here in USM, they have done so many assignments from their lecturers. But from what I found here, okay, one of the questions that I asked, let me just go to the question. This one. Which of the following is not an example of padding a bibliography? Okay, most of the students, they don't know what is padding a bibliography, but all right, when they read this, they should be able to understand that, you know, if you have um references, okay, the references, they put the references in their essay, for example, and they need to put it also, they need to quote it, whatever they got from that particular references need to be indicated with reference inside, need to be quoted inside the essay, for example. But they don't know that. They just know that, you know, when we did the discussion later on, okay, when I asked, okay, do you know that when you put references at the end of your essay, people need to know that in which part of your essay you have quoted from these particular references. Okay, and most of the students, they don't know. They said, I have referred to this particular reference, but Okay, I don't know that I need to put it inside the article, the essay. I don't know. All right. So people, our students, they don't know about that. They just say, okay, because I read that book, I need to put it in the essay. All right. So that's why I believe that, my data on the plagiarism is valid because I know that the student don't know. Okay, after 2 years of doing their essay and so on, but they don't know about putting quotation in their essay. All right, so that's made me believe that my data is valid and reliable. For example, yeah. Okay, and then lesson drawn from the data align with any unique characteristic of their class. Okay, so meaning that the data is based on what characteristic that I have in my class. For example, for my PLG 7 to 6 class, like I mentioned, I have only 5 locals out of 22. Other than that, I have students from China. So that particular class have unique characteristic and I have to deal with, okay, different technical skill, different level of language, speaking skills, okay, writing skills, and so on. So it is a lesson drawn from the uniqueness of my own class. Maybe other class, they have 22 students as well. But the 22 students are all locals, Malaysians. So it is unique to that particular class. They might not have the same problem that occurs in my 22 students class, whereby I have 17 China students. All right. So lesson is drawn from the uniqueness characteristic of your own class. All right. So, and then during the data collection process, avoid relying on single source. So we need triangulation. You need to use multiple methods, meaning that, okay, just now I have my Google form, right? So that particular Google form is not enough. I got that 86 responses. All right, I got 86 responses and I got the data about my students' knowledge on plagiarism and copyright. But I am not going to use that particular sources only. Okay, I'm going to use the breakout sessions observation. All right, breakout session observation. Also, student discussion, and then content analysis, meaning that content analysis, I put a Padlet with students' reflection on what they encounter during the session, their feedbacks, and so on. So all the data, the Google form, the feedback, my observation will be triangulated. All right. So from that, I'm going to get a conclusion on what happened. Okay. What happened in my class. Okay. And then each student or activity will contribute to some form of data. Okay, example, the data I collected last week. All right, so whatever activity that you have will contribute to some form of data. Okay, you can start this week. For example, just observe what happened during the classroom. Okay, give your students some activity and then you observe. Observe. Okay, what happened? Who always speaks? Who do not speak at all? Okay, who seems lost? Whatever. Okay, and then who can finish the activity on time? Okay, that will be some data that you need to collect and then keep it and then try to do some intervention and then collect another data. All right, whatever activity that you have will contribute to your data collection process. All right, and this action research can be done alone or with co-teachers and tutor. All right, so I have done this with my friend, okay, from other university. okay, whereby we are teaching the same course. All right, I teach here in USM. The subject name is quite different, but the content is quite similar. Okay, my friend is in UKM, so we are teaching this quite the same subject. So she collected data in UKM, I collected data in USM. All right, so we use the same question, we use the same activities and so on, and then we meet online, and then we discuss, okay, what happened in her classroom, what happened in my classroom, and so on. And from the data, we derive the data, we derive the findings and so on, and then we publish. All right, it can be done like that as well. All right, and with that, we don't need any grants. We just do whatever we do in our class. Just we need some money for our publication only. All right. So for the publication fee, that's it. All right. So when you have collected your data, all right, you need to think of what is the story told by this data. Okay. Apa cerita? Okay, you must think of this is quite, I know that this might be quite hard for those who are in engineering, because usually people who can tell story are people who usually do qualitative data, but you can actually just write whatever. Okay, from the data you can tell a story. Okay, like what I did just now, I tell you a story about my class. Okay, what happened in my class? First, I do this. Okay, I went into my class, and then I give the students a quiz for 25 minutes. And then what are the devices that I use during the quiz? I use Google Form, and then I use timer from Google Timer, so that the students will know the time they have left for the quiz. And then what happened after the quiz? Then what happened? What did I do after the quiz? Then next. Okay, so why did the story play itself out this way? Meaning that why are the sequences like this? What are the purpose of having a quiz at the beginning? Okay, so I will tell people that, okay, that was my first class for this semester. Okay, and then I need to know what? Okay, I need to know students' knowledge on plagiarism. So when you report the result, okay, action research result can actually be published in various conferences and journal articles, especially in conferences, educational conferences. Okay, you can publish that, all right, and then journal article, and then usually we don't need grants or less money to do action research. Okay, sometimes maybe we want to do research beyond our classroom, but maybe 2 classes and so on. So you might want to give a student something token of appreciation or whatever. So you want to buy chocolates for the students and so on. Then you need some grants, but usually around 5,000 RM, 5,000. Or sometimes I just use my own money to buy chocolates to the participants and so on, and that's it. All right, so we don't need so much money for educational research, although maybe if you are in different area, it is quite similar. So because it is done in our own classroom. All right, let's go to this particular let me just go here, and then okay, please go to this I'm just going to give you now is okay, around 5 minutes only. All right, just put okay, just think of what kind of action research can you do in your own classroom. Okay, only 5 minutes, just simple brainstorm. Okay, think of your class, think of what you are doing now. Okay, and then think of what you can do in your own classroom. I have pasted the link in the chat box, and then write down in the Padlet. All right, I can see that some people are here already. So just click the here, okay, and then you can write. Okay, what do you think can be done in your own classroom? Action research. Think of your problem currently. Okay, currently you have this type of problem, and then what can you do? What kind of action research? What are you going to do? For example, next week, or if your class is tomorrow or Thursday, what can you do in your own classroom? 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes. So we go to timer. For those who have never used Google timer, so you just go to Google and timer countdown. You go 5 minutes start, and then everybody can see. All right. So just like that. This is what I use in my WebEx class. So for those who haven't been using Google Timer, you can use this for your class so that your students will be able to know the time during their quiz. I like this. Investigating the effect of using Google Timer on students' participation in class. Actually, a good idea, yeah. Meaning that you might give them questions or whatever, and then you on the Google timer and see whether they will take action immediately when they see the time is running out. Yeah, maybe something like that. Yeah, as simple as that is good. All right. Stress analysis during 2-hour online teaching. Huh. Meaning that you can see whether, sometimes students are stressed. For example, when we teach online, we are also stressed. To get our students engaged, to get our students to involve, and we don't know whether they are also stressed listening to us. Okay, sometimes we think of okay, I would like to teach. I want to teach about this. I want to teach about that. But we don't know how stressed are our students during our 2-hour online teaching. Okay, so you might want to maybe ask questions or maybe do some questionnaire. All right, so what, or give some open-ended questions to your students. Okay, or you might want to start with some feedback. Okay, see, it is now beeping. All right, so this sound also will actually help students to be aware that their times is out. And then what happened for me when I did this test last week, so after the beeping sound is there, so I just off this. Okay, at that time I still accepting response, so after the beeping sound occurs, then I just not accepting responses. So they cannot do anything. All right. So this is one of the way to make student engaged. Then they know that, they need to do something. All right. And I didn't say to them, I didn't let the student know, meaning that, I didn't see that this quiz, is included in your final or whatever. For me, these, although they have 48 marks, for example, this is not counted in our BPK punya penilaian, the assessment. This is only the classroom assessment, not this is activity, considered activity. This is not considered assessment. I would like to just know what happened, what the student have knowledge on plagiarism. Okay. So, and then incomplete, mana tadi incomplete, okay. So, incomplete, mana hilang dah tadi. FYP work, thesis preparation during pandemic period. Okay, meaning that there are some people who did not complete their FYP, all right, and thesis preparation during pandemic. So you would like to know why. Okay, why they did not incomplete their FYP work? Maybe because of they have to work, for example, so they are not having enough time, or yeah, yes. So you might start with that. All right. So, for example, yeah, I have some students who are not able to write their proposal for their thesis. I don't know why. But for me, I think, okay, because you are staying at home, okay, and you might have time. You don't have to travel anywhere. But why don't you finish your proposal? You are not able to finish your proposal. Then they said, okay, because of this, and this, I have disruption. My children are also at home. They are not going to school, and then I cannot focus on my work, and so on. And for FYP work, maybe, yeah, because they are at home, their mom asks him or her to do housework, and so on. So yes, you can ask that particular question, and how you are going to solve that particular problem. Or you can ask your students to give some suggestion on how to solve that problem. Okay, you can, in action research, you can ask your student to give some solution or give some recommendation how they would like things to be done in the classroom. You can try, and then you can see the effectiveness on that particular action. Okay, some course is considered a dry subject for engineering, which involve different learning other than numbers and quantity. The course requires a lot of reading. My idea is to bring some reading material and ask them to write summary within certain lengths. Scaffolding with techniques of reading and writing summary. Yes, that is a good idea. Meaning that, you know, you give them some reading materials and then ask them to write a summary within certain length. Okay. I don't like to do summary, doctor, whoever you are. Okay. I don't like to do summary because sometimes I feel like, you know, I have problems in terms of am I going to pick up the important part in that particular reading materials. But you can do that, or maybe the reading material will not be too long. Okay. But I like this idea, meaning that, you know, sometimes it is quite dry, or you can also give them some material. Okay, what I always do is I give them material, especially for my EDD class. They are going to have a doctorate, but I think my problem with them is they don't read that much. Okay, they haven't got time. Some of them are doing part times and so on, so they haven't got time to read. So what I ask them to do, if I give them some materials for them to read, but from there I would like them to do my maps or infographics. Okay, what are the main points? Okay, so my maps, meaning that I ask them, for example, I ask them to Google mind map apps. All right. So I use eDrawSoft. All right. Okay, I use this one, and my Mister also. So meaning that, okay, for example, use this one. All right. So you give your students a long, or maybe a reading material, and then from here they will actually extract whatever important, and then they use the mind maps. Okay, and then they log in with Google, and then they can start. Okay, what is the most okay, what is the most important part in that particular, okay, silap pula. All right, the basic. All right, so from here, your student will be able to draw the mind maps. Get the important point, something like this. Okay, so this is one of my students' work, for example, fourth industrial revolution, and then what is the teacher, student, and so on. So these were based on whatever article that were given to my students. All right, something like this. So they will get the points, and then some of them will enjoy doing the mind maps. But doing ask them to write summary is also good. All right, or you might want to actually this week try this. Use summary. Next week you try to use infographic. Next week you try for them to use Flipgrid, for example, for them to just read. Okay, they read the article, and then you ask them to summarize, but they don't have to write it down. If they want to write it down, okay, but use Flipgrid, they can actually record video. Okay, see that, okay, from what I have read just now, I think, okay, this thing is about the whatever, so, you know, and then they post it in the Padlet or Flipgrid. You can post immediately to Flipgrid and so on. All right, so this is a good idea. All right. Pre and post test on knowledge about one specific topic. Okay. Feedback from students will be obtained. No right right or wrong answers, and they will learn by doing and teachers feedback. Yes, you can do that, meaning that this is a one of a good idea, meaning that sometimes when we go to a new topic, we just would like to introduce the topic to the students. All right, so and post test on knowledge about one specific topic can be done maybe before you teach and then after you teach that particular topic. And then teachers, you as the lecturer can give some feedbacks, all right? And you can record actually your feedback to the students, all right? All right, and then problem, low engagement and only some students show interest, unable to correlate theory with practical. So what you are going to do with this? Low engagement. And I think most of us have this problem. All right, so students are not able to correlate theory and practical. Okay, they somehow maybe memorize the theory, but they don't know how to relate the theory and practical. So you might want to give them some activity based on the theory. You don't say that activity relate to this particular theory, but you are going to design. My suggestion is you are going to design an activity, a practical activity based on the theory, okay? And then you ask the students to do in your class, then ask them to identify this activity relate to which theory. Okay, maybe you design a few activities. This group do this activity, this group do this activity, and then try to make them uh, guess, or maybe they can relate the theory and the practice that they were doing. All right, no, don't just go and introduce, okay, this is theory A, then the theory is about this, and this will be very boring for the students. So you might want to actually do the activity first and then ask them to explore the activity. Then after they have explored the activity, then you will introduce, okay, this activity relates to this particular theory. Why? Okay, this is the characteristic of this theory. The theory said that if this is like this, then it become like this. So then they can relate the theory and the practice. Okay. All right. My students think that learning programming is not important. Okay, so I will ask them to pick chemical processes or topics that learned before and ask them to create programming to give answers to that thing they pick up. Bring something to their own needs. Yes, I think this is Dr. Suhairi tadi kot. All right. So meaning that you sometimes, people, they don't realize what are the functions of what we highlight to them, for example programming. So I think it is important for the students to know what purpose. For me myself, yeah, until now I don't like at maths. Okay, during my form 4 form 5, I really hate at maths because I don't know what are the purpose. What is the purpose of learning at maths? Because I think that, if we know the purpose of learning something, then we'll be able to gain interest of students. We will be able to motivate the students. Okay. Jadi kalau kita tak faham, we don't know. The students, they don't know what what is the purpose of learning something, then they won't be able to get interest. Okay, we are not able to motivate them to learn. All right. So thank you for your brainstorm. But this is the first thing that you do today. But later on in your own classroom, I hope that you can brainstorm. Okay, think of, okay, next week, what am I going to do? Do it small. Okay, you might not want to publish from that first, but you might want to think of something to innovate, and then later on, from what you have done, you will be able to publish, you will be able to do innovation and so on. All right, so let me just, so after you have done everything, okay, then you plan the action. All right. So when you do action research, you are going to be a very reflective practitioner. You are going to reflect on what you are doing in class, and then you are making progress, okay, on your teaching. Okay, remember, we are looking at students learning, all right, and then when you are teaching, when you reflect, you are going to make it a culture of yourself. You are going to improve, okay. That's why your class won't be the same each time you go into your classroom. Sometimes, when we were studying, we can remember Dr. Azida, this is how she teach. I remember when she go to class, I can remember what she do. Your students will say that. All right. But if you are uh, unpredictable lecturer, you are going to do innovation in your classroom, then your students will enjoy your class and they will actually cannot predict what will happen in your class next. All right. So it will make when you do action research, you will make your teaching professional, and then you can enhance the motivation and efficacy. All right. For example, you can actually cover all 4 KPIs. You can teach, you can do research, you can publish, and then you can do innovation. All right. So, all right. So, however, okay, this is my last slide. However, if let's say you have do innovation and so on, you must take into consideration the ethics, yeah, ethical consideration during conducting action research. Okay, so if you ask me, how about ethical consideration? It is similar to what we do during research. However, we can start in our classroom. If we don't publish, then it is okay, but let your students know that you are collecting data and so on, and you are going to use the data for whatever purpose and so on. So make sure that it remain anonymous. Okay, for example, for today, I highlighted the name of my classes and so on because this is just for the training purposes. However, if I'm going to publish and so on, okay, I have to make sure that all the ethical consideration need to be done. All right. So if let's say you are going to go beyond your own classroom and so on, so maybe you need to go to Japan and so on for ethical approval. Okay. So you need, even it is an action research, you need to for example, if you need to go beyond your own classroom, you need to publish, you need to do go for innovation and so on, okay, go for competition and so on. So make sure that you follow the ethical consideration. All right. So I think that's it. Okay, I'm sorry that in the poster it say until 12, but actually it is until 11. So if you have any question, all right, I'm open to question, and the attendance link is now on. All right. All right. Assalamualaikum Dr. Azida. Waalaikumsalam. Do you mind share any of your publication based on problems in class? All right. So I have a few, ya. Nak kena buka CV. Mana saya nak tunjuk ah? Let me just open my website. Mungkin ada. Ya. Saya rasa tak ada CV saya kat sini lah. But I think I have a few. Okay. Let me just open. Buka CV pula ya. Okay. Yang ni dengan Dr. Aisyah. Alright. The Dr. Aisyah's paper is on gamified online quizzes. Alright. So this one is actually an action research. All right. This one, when Dr. Aisha first tried to write this paper, yeah, because I'm guiding her. I was guiding her in terms of how to do research because she gamified her class. All right, she gamified her class using gamification for the pharmacy students. All right. So at first, Dr. Aisha, she has difficulties in terms of getting the to write the article, okay, because sometimes we are lack of models and so on. Oh, one thing that I forgotten to mention, when you when you like to write article for action research, based on action research, for example, yeah, if let's say we go into the plagiarism just now, all right, so you might want to Google, okay, I just go to Google Scholar, all right, go to Google Scholar. All right, Google Scholar. You go to Google Scholar. For example, like this one, Dr. Aisha, just one. Gamified online quizzes, pharmacy student perception of learning. Okay, in an undergraduate medicinal chemistry course. All right. So, this is about gamified online quizzes. So maybe like something like Kahoot and so on. So when you are going to write, okay, when you are going to write something about your class, and then you would like to, that one is in my side because that was Dr. Aisha's first article based on the action research, yeah. So, but I would like you to suggest to you all that if you have the data and so on, you must remember when we write for publication, we need some model to support our findings, yeah. For example, I found that here, for example, yeah, I have the students, my conclusion is the students are lack of plagiarism knowledge. Okay, although they have been in USM for 2 years. So then I would like to actually support my findings. So model on what I would suggest, if you are going to write something about plagiarism, I'm going to look for model that can support my findings. So I just go to Google Scholar, for example, about using ethical decision model to, so this is the ethical decision model to determine consequences, okay, something about, but this type of model, okay, maybe this is the model that can support our findings. So read this model and then try to connect with our findings for our action research, okay, or like something like this, a model of plagiarism free inquiry project based learning. All right, so look for a model that can support. For example, I would like to publish this one. So it is about students knowledge on plagiarism. So then I'm going to look for a suitable model to support. Okay, the model is important part when you like to publish and write the publication based on your action research. You don't just put the findings without any model that support. Okay, we would like to see your scholarly teaching there, scholarly thinking on current model that can support your findings. All right, that is one why I highlighted this, because this is actually Dr. Aisha's one. All right, she did this in her class, but she tried a few times to send it here and there and so on. We got some revision and so on. I helped her in terms of getting the structure of the article, like that. All right, so that is one example for kan tunjuk CV banyak-banyak kan segan pula. All right. Okay, I hope that I answered your question, ya, Dr. Suhana. Okay. All right. So, do need to submit to ethical committee if the idea to implement action research come recently. All right. I think Dr. Suhai, what you can do is you just do it in your class first, and then you can see the extent of how you use the students' data. All right, because whatever it is, when we use a human as our respondents, our in our research, then we need some ethical consideration. All right, but if you need to see, especially when you would like to publish that. All right, if you would like to publish, maybe you can just ask the Japan what you can do with that. All right, maybe you don't go to very extensive Japan process, okay, because you are going to do it maybe to certain extent only. All right. All right. So and then Dr. Abdul Reza, okay. Yeah, okay. Thank you for sharing the food science education. Yes, I think this is a good journal article, journal that you can actually publish. Okay, for example, like in our health science, medical education. Okay, there is a medical education journal. Okay, by USM, right? So whatever engineering education, pharmacist education, whatever with education, but in your specific area, mostly we can use whatever we do in our class, and then it is about how we teach certain subjects based on our teaching. So this is a very good journal. Thank you, Dr. Abdul Riza. All right. Dr. Nazri, I'm concerned that I have not enough knowledge and time to do the data analysis, writing the result, and publication part of my classroom research. Is there a way for us to offer our action research topic to students or lecturer? Okay, Dr. Nazri, the main thing about when we talk about our research, our normal research, okay, we do actually need some extensive data analysis, okay, and then yes, we might not have time, but when you do, for example, okay, if I share again this one, all right, I use the Google form here. Actually, you have all the data here. All right. So and the Google form already analyze your data for you. Just you need to actually look really into it, and then you might want to, like, for example, if you have this one, I don't have the open-ended question here. All right, because this is a quiz. You can actually design your quiz whereby you have some open-ended question. So you have the quantitative, and if you at the end you have the open-ended questions, then you will analyze it mixed methods. You must get used to analyze the data by yourself. All right. And then I think when you see your own data, you will be interested to actually explore it. It is not a very extensive data. You don't use correlation. You might use correlation, but beyond that, maybe tak perlulah. Okay. All right. So I think Dr. Nazri, you can explore first. But as I mentioned earlier, do it small first. Okay, do it small first. Then you can actually, the data will increase, and then you will get the final findings that you can publish. Maybe you don't need people to help you at all, or maybe you can team up with your colleague and do because some of my courses I do teach together with my colleague. All right. So maybe both of you can do with your colleague, and then you can compare, like what I did with Dr. Aisha just now. All right. Dr. Saidatul, why do people assume that action research is not publishable? Is it because it often lacks of the model you mentioned just now? Yes. Yes. Uh, I think most of us, most of the people who are not in education, when you get the findings, you don't match it with any model. That's why I highlighted that you need to go and look for a model that match with what you are doing. All right. So, for example, you are doing plagiarism. So, try to look for theory of plagiarism, a model on plagiarism, theory on how people learn, for example. Okay, for example, if you are giving students, like just now, somebody mentioned about giving long whatever articles, ask them to read the article and then summarize. Okay, or my suggestion just now, you read the article and then do the mind mapping. So why do I suggest that? Maybe it is about, we have the Mayer theory of cognitive learning, whereby when people have these images and so on, Mayers have 12 principles of learning, cognitive theory of learning. So in Mayers, it said that if, for example, in Mayers, we have redundancy principle. You have too many images, you have sound and so on, then it will be redundant. Maybe people will get cognitive load and so on. That types of model actually will help you. For example, when you simplify something, you will avoid the cognitive load of students. For example, lah, yeah. So that's why when we have the model, then you have a concrete or a support on what you are doing. So the model or the theory is quite important, and it will make sure that your what you are writing, the article that you are writing, is publishable. All right. Yeah. Yes. You highlighted a very important point there, Dr. Saidatul. All right. So thank you, Prof. Aziza. Thank you to you. All right. Thank you. And then, okay, I think that's it. I have answered all the question. Okay. Right. Done. All right. So the attendance link is in the chat box. Sorry, I always mistaken with chatbot, because my student is doing a chatbot research just now, and they pitch last week in the pitch at USM. So that's why I keep on saying chat box. Yeah. All right. So please click the attendance link, and then yeah, that's it for today. So thank you for being here with CDAE this morning. So hopefully to see you all in our other webinar, inshallah. So thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you all. Thank you, Dr. J. Thank you, Dr. Suhairi. Thank you, Dr. Siva. Thank you, Dr. Najwadi. Thank you, Dr. Husnaida.